DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Thursday, May 1st. It is already May, Doug. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined as I am each and every week by Dougly Do Wrong, the YouTube sensation himself. Doug, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. Got like we said backstage, a big weight has been lifted off our shoulders.
It has. You know, I love the draft. I love the whole, lead up to the draft. I'm not one of those people to go hate mock drafts. No, I like looking at a good mock draft. What the heck? It's fun. It's supposed to be fun, folks. It's fun looking at a good mock draft. But there does come a point when you're in like our shoes where you're doing podcasts, you're talking about it. For me, I'm writing articles about it. Like, okay, and it's over. It's like, oh, it's over. Thank God. No more drafts talk until next year. And now we have to start to look towards the season, which is a ways away. But we do that pivot. And we're going to talk about some stuff like that on today's show. We will talk about some of the draft picks. I got a video clip I want to play Doug to get his reaction on something. We got a lot. But before we get to any of that, as always, if you're watching on YouTube right now, everyone take a second, smash the like button. We're not going to start the show until you smash the like button. So smash the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel as well. Also, a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Go to the website, caneswear.com. And if you're in South Florida, stop by their location at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, because Caneswear has it all. They have the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need a hat, a hoodie, if you need a jacket, a windbreaker, a jersey, a golf shirt, a polo shirt, a t-shirt, any type of shirt, Caneswear has it. They have the Miami Dolphins logo on pretty much everything there. And they also carry stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, the Miami Heat, the Florida Panthers, and the Miami Marlins, as well as some of the other college teams in the state of Florida. Caneswear.com. They ship internationally. It's the place to be. Caneswear. Also, real quick, Dolphins Talk Extra. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Bonus podcast, private message board. We give away a ton of prizes. We're doing a Kentucky Derby game this week. Random draw. You get a horse. You might win a Miami Dolphins hat or a Miami Dolphins shirt. We're just giving it away if your horse wins. So we have fun games like that. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Okay, Doug, we got a lot to talk about here with this draft. I want to get your take on a few things. Before we get to the particular players, what were your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins trading out of round 3 and 4 completely when they have a roster with so many holes?
The trade out of round 4 was very head scratching to me. From what I heard, they wanted to double down on defensive tackle, and then when like CJ West went and all those other defense, Josh Farmer was gone, CJ West was gone, all those guys were gone. They were like, you know what, we'll go back because so many people want to come up. We'll go back, get a third next year. And, their guy, Jordan Phillips, was still there. That is the one that made me scratch my head. I'm like, why? Very, very unusual for that one, especially like you said, we had so many needs. The third wasn't so head scratching for me because a lot of the guys I wanted, especially at corner and safety, were long gone before 98. And they moved up and got Jonas Savaiinaea. That's not how you say his name. I still have to learn it, but that's how I'm going to call him.
I think I have this one. Hold on. Savaiinaea. I think. I don't know.
Well, we got to wait till he records it because how
exactly.
The Dolphins put that out where they record their name. But yeah, that was the first time I think in my life as a Dolphins fan that they made a move and I was begging for a player and then the player got called. Like if you watch my reaction, I
actually saw like a 5-second clip of it and you were like a kid on Christmas.
Because it was like, I'm like, Jonah, and they were like, Jonah, and I was like, wait, for real? And then I was like, yeah. Like, I was like, they did it. The first 2 picks, I was like, this is great. So I don't mind the trade up, especially when you look at the Jimmy Johnson point value. The Dolphins lost like 2 points by making that move. So I don't mind it, especially to go up and get a guy who could play both, God forbid, I'm gonna knock on the wood. Austin Jackson's still not where he should be. Jonah can play right tackle. So, I'm not upset with that one. The trading out of 4, though, that was weird to me. I understand you got a 3rd for next year, which they could use that to try to get a corner now. But it was very peculiar to me. And the thing that sucked is we're live streaming it. So like I'm sitting there and I'm waiting,
I was too.
I'm like, okay, we're almost at 98, and they traded out. I was like, why am I sitting here now? Like, what is the point of this? So
the whole thing, the 2 trades are both, they're so different. I'm gonna wait on the one where they moved up for Savanea, because we'll talk about that when we get to it. But sort of trading out around 4, I heard the excuse. Well, nobody they take in round 4 is going to help them win this year. Well, by that, why draft anybody? It's like, once you get to round 4 and 5, you're taking guys who, you're hoping you get lucky, get the next Tom Brady, get the next Zach Thomas, you get someone. Yeah, anything's possible. But by that logic, it's like, why take anybody? And this roster has so many holes. This essentially turned into a 2-player draft, which, if you're the Eagles, if you're the Chiefs, you can get away with that maybe. I don't know if you're the Miami Dolphins, you should be taking that approach. And, let's talk about Savanea before we talk about Grant. And here's my take. I want to get your, if Savanea is really, really good, a year from now, no one will remember the trade. It doesn't matter if he's good. So there's that aspect of it. But the last 2 people we took at that spot, and I'm going to count him as a guard, because even Hunt was drafted as a tackle when he was a guard, but whatever. He's better be more Robert Hunt and less Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
His trade to matter. That's number 1. And the other part of the trade that people aren't taking into account, which I think they should, Tate Ratledge, who also plays this position, was there at pick 57. So maybe Savanea wouldn't have been there at pick 48 from all the reports we're hearing now from the Patriots. Okay, maybe he wouldn't have been there. Tate Ratledge would have been. If Tate Ratledge is a way better player than Savanea, this is then a bad trade, because they could have just stayed put and took Tate Ratledge. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on the kid to be really good, because they gave up a lot to get him. Chris Greer made a bold move, which I'm not necessarily against him making a bold move. Why the hell not at this point?
Yeah.
But we can't wait around for him to be like Austin Jackson, where year 1, 2, and 3, he's really not that good. Then year 4, hey, Austin Jackson's really good this year. Like, he can't be that guy. Yeah. He's got to be good this year, and he better hope Tate Ratledge is bad and not better than him. Otherwise, we're going to be looking back on this kind of like with Chase and Waddle. Yeah, Waddle's good. We could have stayed put and just took Chase, though, and he's way better. And that's the pressure Savanea, or we're going to view this under this trade at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. And, that's the one we're really going to be looking at is Tate Ratledge. Now, obviously the pre-stuff is, what are we going to, who's better, who's not, and all that stuff, and their flexibility and stuff. But, yeah, could have sat. There was a lot of people that they could have stayed pat and took. If they want to Trey Amos went after that, there's a lot of guys that they definitely could have still waited.
Hold on. Clearly, you're more worried about the secondary than they are.
Yeah. So I don't, like I said, they grabbed my guy. I
like the kid. Yeah, there's 2 different aspects of this. I like the player. I like the kid. I'm rooting for him hard. I think he's going to be good. But then there's also the reality of this. We take a step back, aside from just liking him, liking the pick, where, yes, we have to factor in Tate Ratledge. You have to factor in, does he hit the ground running year 1, or is this going to take to year 2 or 3, like an Austin Jackson? Like, Jesus Christ, is he ever going to pick it up? Like, we're going to have to look at that as we move forward, and that's how this is really going to be judged. I know fans, on social media, of course, take it with a grain of salt, like, see, the Patriots won and we won the trade. No, that's not how this works.
Yeah. That was my biggest fear going into day 2. I was like, will he be there at 48? Will he be? I remember watching it, and all of a sudden, like the background changed on the draft stage before it was
Yeah,
announced, and
yeah.
I was like, "Are they just showing teams?" I was like, "What?" Like, you know, when you get bored, they show like the logos and
Yeah,
stuff. I was like,
and it was so funny because we had a whole night planned. We're like, okay, we're gonna start top around 2-7. So and so's coming on at like 7:15. So and so 7:45. When we're on the clock, we got this guest lined up. Within 5 seconds, they traded out around 3 completely. It's their only pick of the night. Nobody had come on yet. Like, well, we'll stay on to talk to our guest, but they made their pick for the night. That's pretty much it.
so many people are begging. Are they going to go back in 3? Are they going to go back in round 3? They got 3 5s now. What are they going to do? Nope.
No. Yeah,
They
this was
did
a
not.
two-person draft. Is what it is. I mean, we'll see. Again, I I like with their first 3 picks, I like the players a lot.
Yeah.
So I think those 3 have a chance to actually play. After that, all bets are off, honestly. We're gonna talk about it. Let's talk Grant. Now, I don't mind the Grant pick
Mhm.
because to me, they're replacing Christian Wilkins. I know he can also play nose a little bit more than Wilkins did per se, but it's essentially a pick to replace Wilkins at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that. But as I always like to pride ourselves on this podcast, we like to hear all views and all sides. And I don't know if you saw it today because it got put up late this afternoon. It's not Warren Sharp, but it's from Warren Sharp's site, where
Mhm.
someone who works for him or his organization talked about the Kenneth Grant pick. I'm going to play this. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. So let me play this, and I want to get your reaction to this because it's an opposing view. I'm not saying I don't agree with it per se, but it's not necessarily wrong either.
It mostly comes down to their first round pick and just the choice to go after Kenneth Grant. He's basically a nose tackle. He's going to play a little bit more than just that. He's proven that he has the stamina to stay on the field. He's not one of these nose tackles that's only going to go out there for 20 snaps, but that's his strength. He doesn't offer much as a pass rusher. So if you have a run stuffing nose tackle in the NFL in 2025, there's just not a lot of value in that. I like Kenneth Grant. I think he's a good run stuffing nose tackle. Problem is that is just not very valuable anymore. In fact, Mike Tomlin talked about that, and he said that the nose tackle is going by the way of the fullback. It just isn't a part of our game anymore. So why would you invest in it? You would think a team was crazy for drafting a fullback in the first round. It would never happen today. We'll eventually get to the point where teams stop drafting nose tackles in the first round, but it hasn't happened yet. And so when teams like the Dolphins do it, I'm going to judge them pretty harshly because they're not at that stage of the team building development where they can go out and take such a niche position.
Now, again, I don't agree with all of that because what he's saying is not necessarily wrong, but then you have to look at each team individually. And again, we had nothing next to Zach Sealer, and we needed guys to play those positions. And Miami wanted to start the run, not be on the ass end of the run. So I agree with what Miami did. And plus, I do think Grant, like he said, is more than just like a nose tackle per se. He's so athletic and he's so quick in some areas. So I don't agree with everything that guy just said. But there's some truth in what he just said, too. And the funny part is he mentions Mike Tomlin. Who did they take in round 1? Oh, yeah, a nose tackle. So it's like, take what he said with a grain of salt, but there is some truth to it. What's your thoughts on that and just the Grant pick overall?
Yeah, it's funny that he brought up Mike Tomlin because the Dolphins were in talks with the Steelers to do a trade down, but the Steelers were like, yeah, we're trading up for Kenneth Grant. And the Dolphins were like, oh, no. And that's why they took, Harmon because they didn't get Grant because the Steelers wanted Grant yet. Mike Tomlin said it's, in his words, Mike Tomlin said it's the way of the fullback and it's going to be, I think I like the Kenneth Grant pick. Obviously, there were some other guys on the board. I think I had like 3 names that I like. Gray Zabel was one of them, but I do think Gray Zabel at 13 would have been a little too high. He ended up going 18 to Seattle. Even Barron, he went later. He
20s, right?
Yeah. I think 20s.
20 or 21 to the Broncos. I forget what number they were exactly, but yeah.
20. They were 20.
20, okay.
So, even those guys kind of fell a little bit more. I like the Kenneth Grant pick. Again, he was one of the 3 I wanted. We grabbed him. I think what he's going to do, and I think the reason they brought him in is we have so much speed on the outside. And then we'll have a combination with him and Sealer where he's a big guy. So he's going to take up blocks. And if you don't take up blocks, he still has that burst of speed to get back there. He's not Vince Wilfork, right? He's not a big guy like Vince Wilfork. He can move still for his size. And that was the thing that kept being brought up about Kenneth Grant. I think when they plug him in, and you saw how Weaver uses his defensive lineman and how he got the best out of his defensive lineman, I think we're going to see him do some really good things. And they're going to use him in certain ways in certain situations where it's going to help us out, because the back end of our defense right now is not good. So they really invested in the trenches, which they said they would. So
And they did. So I give them credit for that, actually. Look, I don't know if any of this stuff's going to work out. Nobody does. We have high hopes, and we see the logic behind the picks, and we say, okay, from what we were to what we are now today, it makes sense. I understand the logic. I don't necessarily hate it per se. So I give them credit for having a plan, executing a plan, getting stronger in the trenches on both lines. Savanea, the only offensive line. But the Grant pick, like I said, what he said about that position being phased out, yeah, that's why it's not one of the 5 premium positions we always talk about. So he's not wrong. But again, look at the Dolphins roster. We had nothing on the defensive line. Who are the veterans out there to be signed right now? Nothing on the defensive line. Now, that's a Chris Greer problem. He shouldn't have put himself in that corner. That's a different conversation. But what they were 1 week ago tonight on draft night, I get it. And we'll see. But I don't hate the pick, but I do understand what that guy's saying at the end of the day. Jordan Phillips, low key, when you just talk value, round you got him and player who he is, might be the best value pick. Round 5, I think most people saw him going like late round 3 or round 4. He fell to around 5 if you want to go by quote unquote the experts, which I think after last week you probably shouldn't do that no more. But think of this one last show. Let me just quote the quote unquote experts. Where we got him around 5, again, rotational piece. If he's better than Benito Jones, this pick's an A+ at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And that's all I need him to be, is better than Benito Jones. Not going to get you no sacks, not a sack guy, but he can, put his hand in the dirt and he'll play the run. You want toughness? Double down on Grant. I like the pick.
Yeah, like I said, when they were sitting in the 4th round, when they traded back, there was guys that they wanted, like CJ West, Ty Robinson, Deion Walker, all of these guys that the Dolphins wanted, that they went to Buffalo, San Francisco, Philadelphia. When Philadelphia took Ty Robinson, I was like, of course Philadelphia is going to take Ty Robinson, because it's the guy I freaking want. Just like they took Jahad Campbell at the end of the first. They just know how to get these talents.
I know.
Pisses me off. So they traded out, and then they got Jordan Phillips. And, it's so funny that we got another defensive tackle with the same exact name. But I liked it. I liked the pick a lot. Every time I did a mock, even on my channel, on any other channel, I always double down on defensive tackles, because
they had
nobody.
Nobody.
It was Sealer, and then obviously you have Benito Jones, and no disrespect to him, but it was Sealer.
Yeah, not very good. Yep. Yeah, they had to do it. So I don't know the next two. Oh, don't go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you look at the depth chart. There's no one really. You got Matt Dickerson, who's the other DN besides Sealer, and it's like,
yeah, he's just a body.
They still need to add more. Like, you could say, oh, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Benito Jones, they're gonna rotate them and put them on ends, and this isn't. No, man. And I understand that have Phillips and Chubb, and at some points have their hand down, but no, they still, in my mind, need to add like somebody on that defensive line, because it's worrying me. Yannick Ngakoue is still available. Go out and get him and throw him in there. Yeah. I did research on it, and I kept checking. I'm like, why? And I'm like, is he still available? And
so is it Arius Smith out there still too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's guys who could be a complementary piece. We'll see what they do. We're going to talk a little bit about that at the end of the show. We did get a super chat here from Patrick Mullen, who is a very happy and proud DolphinsTalk extra subscriber, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Thank you, Patrick. If Grant's pass rush potential was just a side effect of playing with Graham, then he may be a good player, but he may not have been a good first round pick. I think it means Jonah can't start, draft as a bust. Well, right on the second part with Jonah, if he can't beat out Liam, this draft gets enough. And it gets enough in September, honestly. I don't need to wait a few years. That's number one. The thing with Grant, if it was a side effect playing next to Grant, well, now he's playing next to Zach Sealer, so let's hope that just continues. I'm not going to worry about that too much, because he's going to be playing next to someone who's also very good, like Graham was in college. So I think we're okay on both those. Thank you, Patrick. The 2 secondary players, this is the part of the draft I hate. I don't even hate the picks after this so much. These guys, I think they took a corner for the sake of taking a corner, which I kind of get on some level. But I don't think this guy had, from what I heard, a good week at the East-West Shrine thing, and that's kind of why they took him. But for Florida, it's very spotty, the reviews on him. Although I did have a diehard Florida fan get mad at me because I said something like this, similar, like late last week, and I got so mad. I'm like, dude, sorry. I know you're a Gators fan, but just keeping it real. And then Dante Trader is a undersized safety, a little slow, not the biggest guy. He'll be fighting with Patrick McMorris to be like our fourth safety, which again, we're in mid to late round 5. I get that's what you're taking. But I wonder if they just took these guys, was like, we need to address the secondary. Let's just take 2. To me, that's just bad drafting. I'd rather take, like here, we'll talk about Quinn Ewers in a second. Would it have been wiser with one of these 2 picks to take Will Howard or Kyle McCord? Then round 7, we'll take a safety just for the sake of taking a safety, or that's my logic.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because there were still other corners on the board that I liked better, but again, who am I?
Oh, you're Doug Lee Durong.
No,
YouTube sensation.
That means nothing. There's obviously someone in the chat that doesn't like me and thinks I tell people.
Oh, really?
Up.
I didn't see that.
he said he called me a Tuanier, which is the dumbest name ever. Oh my god,
I can't. The whole Tua thing. I'm so tired of the Tua.
And then he said I told Dolphins fans to shut up. Have I ever told anyone?
No, I've never heard you.
You probably have.
I say it all the time. I say it all the time. I call people stupid, tell them to shut up. I always joke. I got 41, 42, something like that, 1,000 followers on Twitter. I have probably close to 70,000 or 80, but I blocked so many people. And here's the deal. I don't care. If you insult me or say something stupid, you're getting blocked. Elon Musk doesn't pay me. I don't care.
Yeah, no, they don't.
I'm not chasing Twitter followers. I know most of this younger generation is. 47, don't care.
But yeah, I felt like both of those picks were kind of like, we'll need one. Or maybe they looked at Weaver and was like,
who do you like?
Yeah, exactly. Who do you want? Who could you fit in here? I feel like that's what the 5th round was mostly. Even with Jordan Phillips, they're like, you do something with him? And he's probably like, oh, I could do something with him. They're like, all right, we'll grab him. From what I heard, and again, this is speculation. You take this with a grain of salt. If Shador was still there with that 3rd, 5th, they might have taken him.
That would have been great.
It would have been crazy. You think that this whole Tyreek Hill thing is a circus? Oh my god! And then the whole Tua and Shador thing. Oh my god!
And this goes for you too, because you're in this field with your YouTube and you're doing these shows with other people. Now, I won't say their name, a certain person in the media last weekend on Saturday. I go, if they take Sanders, any point today, quarterback, your ratings, clicks, whatever you want to call them, mine, and it would fall down to you, would go through the roof as we become a 24/7, 365 Shador Sanders channel, and the money would back up the Brinks truck. It would. Now look, would they have actually won? Would it have helped them win? Would it have been a circus? It would have been a nightmare. Yes. Check every box. Yes. It doesn't actually help them win on the field. Probably. It probably causes more problems than anything. But for people in our world, back up the Brinks truck. That's all I'm going to say. And that's what it would have been.
Drama.
Headlines. Is he coming, Dion? Is he not coming? Miami started the year 1-3. Mike McDaniel's gone. Here comes Dion. Unconfirmed sources. Dion. I mean, it would have been every day. Yep. OTAs, rookie camps, mini camps. They would be watched like the Super Bowl. What did Shador Sanders do? Oh my God! At 10:15 a.m., he threw a pass wide. Well, that's all it would have been. It would have been nonsense. It would have been craziness. And you know who would have benefited? Us. Yep. Not the Dolphins, probably. Okay. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't love those picks, but we'll see. Ollie Gordon, and I did an interview yesterday. If you haven't listened, check it out with Oklahoma State beat reporter Scott Wright for the Oklahoman. We spoke for like 25 minutes, all things Ollie Gordon. I'm a big Ollie Gordon fan. I think he's a really good player. Last year's stats sucked because guess what? Oklahoma State sucked. Not really his fault. If you can't pass the ball and your offensive line sucks, no running back is going to run through it. Look at the 2023 film when everything was good for him and he was great. That's the real guy. My fear is Mike McDaniel doesn't like using non-speed guys, and will he actually use them? That's my fear because I think this guy can beat out Alexander Madison, and I think he should be the number 3 running back. And if we're not going to be great this year and we're struggling, I don't need to see Alexander Madison come mid-October play the kids at some point. And as a third back, I want to see Ollie Gordon.
Wasn't he like a Heisman hopeful at the beginning of 2024?
Doug, his 2023 he had 1,700 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving
Was this the
touchdown.
NFL?
The Doak Walker Award winner. He was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, and he was heading into the season not the Heisman favorite, but the top 2 or 3 Heisman favorites. And I want to give credit, and I'm going to call this up real quick because I can find it quick. Travis Wingfield, everyone knows Travis Wingfield, said the last 6 Doak Walker Award winners, get this, Jonathan Taylor won it twice, Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker, Bijan Robinson, Ollie Gordon, Ashton Gentry. That's a pretty good company right there. Some of those guys, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Walker, Robinson, pretty good NFL players. This dude can play. Now, look, he did after his junior year with those crazy numbers. He had an off-the-field incident. Got popped drunk driving. Wasn't even 21 yet. It was a little over the limit, but it was over, and he's not 21. We don't condone drunk driving here at DolphinsTalk.com, nor highway profanity. With that said, that didn't, he paid his debt to society, whatever it was. That was a blip on the radar. He's a good kid for the most part. And 2024, Oklahoma State won 3 games, and they were a hot mess from start to finish. So I look at that 2023 season because that's the real guy. I just wonder if Mike McDaniel will actually use him. I think he's the real deal, though. I really do. I hope he uses him. Okay. Yeah,
when they took him, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know much about him because again, he was down on the totem pole when it came to prospects. But then when I looked him up, because Damian Martinez was still on the board, so I was like,
yeah,
he's better than Martinez. They didn't go Damian Martinez, and then when I looked up Ollie Gordon, I was like, that's why they didn't go.
That's why they didn't go. As someone who bets way too much college football, he's been on my radar for over a year, and he was the guy. I'm sitting in this room in this chair going, let's effing go when we took him because I know how good he can be, how good he is. And I think round 6 is a steal. He's not. Look, he's a 4.6 guy. That's fine. Every running back doesn't need to be 4.4 or better. This is old school football at the end of the day, and I like the pick. And let's leave it at that. Quinn Ewers. We could talk for an hour on Quinn Ewers, but we're not. Here's the deal. A year ago, tank for Tua, suck for luck. It was don't win for Quinn. This guy was like first round pick. Quinn Ewers.
He was on the NCAA game.
What's that?
He was on the cover of NCAA 2025.
Yeah, he was the real deal. Like everyone talks Arch Manning. There's a reason Arch Manning hasn't seen the field. Quinn Ewers, he's really, really good. So good, in fact, that if he would have stayed in college for one more year, there was a school who wanted to pay him $8 million. $8 million. Carson Beck's only getting 4 to play at Miami. Somebody offered him 8. He said no. He's the winningest quarterback in college football the past 3 seasons. This past year, that was in the SEC. You got to factor that in. That's a real conference. The dude's he's smart. Does he have the strongest arm? No. Is he the most athletic? No. Has he had nagging injuries that have taken some zip off his passes? Yes. If he can heal that up. And plus, Texas runs the Miami Dolphins offense. They've admitted it. Steve Sarkisian has said the past 2 off seasons, we take all concepts from Mike McDaniel, implement them into their offense. So he kind of knows his offense. He's not Skylar Thompson. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be better than a number 2 quarterback ever in his life, but he's not Skylar Thompson. He has more upside than Skylar Thompson. It's round 7. Okay, it's round 7, folks. But the people who say he's just a camp arm, he's Skylar Thompson 2.0. No, that's lazy. That's lazy. Read up on this kid. Know what this kid is. He's more than that. Now, again, he might not be a number 1, but he's more than that. And if he say 1 year from now, he replaces Zach Wilson as a number 2, that's a win for a 7th round pick because I do think he's better than what Skylar was, and I think he can be at least. We'll see. He's got to actually go out there and show it. But there's a higher ceiling here than there was with Skylar. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, people are already, there's the trolls out there that are already saying.
Well, you got the 2 on people. Like any quarterback comes in, they're going to slice off his nuts when he walks in the door because they didn't want to threat a competition. And he's not competition. I'm saying that again. He's not competition. But he can be a higher ceiling number 2 than we've had here in recent years. That's all I'm saying.
I like the Quinn Ewers pick. A lot of other quarterbacks that we've talked about went in the 6th, like Kyle McCord goes to the Eagles again. Of course, he goes to the Eagles. Will Howard goes to Pittsburgh. All these quarterbacks went in the 6th, and Ewers kept falling and falling. And then the Dolphins were like, "Hey, we had dinner. You want to come
pretty much
from Miami?"
I'd like that T-bone you had down there. We got a lot of restaurants in Miami that serve T-bone.
I wonder where they took him. Did they take him to
Oh,
Shula's?
I don't. It had to be someplace night. It's not someplace public, so it's not going to be at like the Hard Rock, one of those fancy restaurants, because it's too many people around. I'm sure it was something out by the water, someplace more private. I don't know where, but it had to be something like that, I would think. Yeah, I don't know, but they did take him out to eat, and people read into it that, and this is going to fuel that now moving forward. Well, if they take you out, but they took out a lot of players to eat. This is just one that happened to draft. Again, it's fine. It's a 7th round pick. Don't go crazy. And with the last pick, Zeke, Biggers, think Jordan Phillips, just like a slight downgrade from that. I don't want to spend any more time. Another defensive tackle, big, strong guy, no pass rush, just length and size. He can play the run. So overall, I don't hate. It's really a 2-person draft at the end of the day. We'll see how the first 2 picks do, but I get the logic behind everything they did. Build the trenches, get stronger, and if one of the secondary guys pans out, we hit pay dirt. Now, I do want to talk about one more thing. We're about the half hour mark, so we'll get through it quick. But first, obviously, shout out to finheaven.com. Shout out to the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page by Carlos Hernandez, and wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. Subscribe. Okay. Did anything in this draft change your outlook on the upcoming season? Did any needles get moved? Or are you still where you thought we were last week this time on Thursday? You think 1 week later after this draft, we're in the same pretty much boat. Now, just a couple more rookies who might be good at like a year or 2 from now, but in 2025, marginal impact.
I feel better about the offense because there's no way that they don't play Jonah. Like, they literally came out after they drafted him. They're like, he's the starter. He's the starting left guard. So I feel better about the offense. I'd still like to add another vet to that guard competition. So the offense, I'm good. Even with the undrafted free agents we brought in, I like some of them. Some of them probably should have went in like the 6th, 5th, 6th round, and we got them in undrafted.
Some of those wide receivers, I think, have a chance to make this team.
So the offense, I'm good. It's the defense, and it's mostly the secondary.
Oh yeah,
we don't have corners.
Oh, and, I know.
I think Melifanu could be good again if he stays healthy. I don't think Ashton Davis is. I think he's that third safety. I think he's the safety you blitz and you play him at the line, and it worries me in coverage. So I'd like to add another safety, and we need 2 corners. So I'm good on offense. It's just the defense scares the crap out of me, and there's no reconciling with Jalen Ramsey. He's gone. Like, that man.
He's gone.
Out.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, he's 100% gone. And there was a report, well, I think on like Sunday or Saturday, I can't remember which day, that Miami has shown interest in Rasul Douglas, which, look, whoever they sign, again, not guys that are going to move the needle. You look at his numbers last year for PFF, his passer rating against was 123.7. If you're into PFF, even if you're not into PFF, that's not a good number. Okay. No. 123.7 is a pretty standard number. That's not good. But again, when you have nothing and he's one of the top guys left, beggars can't be choosers. So if they do go down that road for one of them, I get it. Mike Hilton is more of a nickel. We already got that, and I don't want to move Keter Code to the outside. So Mike Hilton, I don't think so. Match Shaq Griffin. Again, it's kind of blah, but when you have nothing, I guess we'll take it. James Bradbury, didn't he just miss all last year with an Achilles, or did he miss all 2023? I know he missed all of one of the last 2 seasons.
I think it was last year. I didn't hear.
I think so. So again, you're taking another guy coming off an Achilles when you got James Daniels. You got Jalen Phillips with an Achilles and an ACL. You got like another guy coming off a major injury. I mean, if they want to go down that road because they have to, I get it. And here's the thing. Trade, you mentioned trade at the top of the show, and I'm with you on that. And someone in our chat mentioned this, and I have no idea if he said it because I don't listen. He's saying this was said by Kyle Krabs, and I like Kyle. I have no idea if he said this, though, because I don't trust, because I've had people say, well, Mike said, I never said it. So I don't know if he actually, so I'm not going to pin this on Kyle, because here he goes, Kyle Jeans, what you meant, Krabs, Ponder, they use a 3rd or 4th on Greg Newsome. Now, I wrote an article on Newsome, on Monday, I think, and here's the deal. He makes $13 million this year, which I think probably ends this conversation right from the start. Yeah. That's number one. Could you get him from Cleveland? You could get him for a bag of peanuts right now, because he played 3 games last year for them as a starter, and then they put him on the bench. And this is from a Browns reporter. I quoted this in my article up on our website at DolphinsTalk.com. This is from a Browns reporter. And like, us, we follow the teams in and out with the Dolphins. If you want like an honest opinion, ask us. We'll give you cut out all the bullshit. This is from a Browns reporter. I'm just going to read this sentence. He gives up far too many big plays and is awful as a run defender with too many missed tackles. Newsome isn't an awful player, but he's a player. He isn't a person you want to pay more than $10 million per year. And that's you talking him up. This is too many tackles. He isn't awful, but you don't want to pay him too much. He gives up too many big plays. And that's why the Browns, who were picking second in the draft, the Browns benched him after 3 games. He's in a final year of his deal. So you're going to give up a third or a fourth for a guy who's a rental 1 year? No. And why would he restructure? He's got no incentive to. Like, oh, God, because the 13 he's getting this year, the most he's ever going to see again in his life. Watch him do it now. So I agree with the trade. I like that avenue. I wouldn't trade a third, though, not for a year where we are rebuilding, unless somebody's going to give up something like a young player, which who would? But I agree. You want to part with a 5th, 6th, 7th next year for somebody, I'm all for it. And here's a name to keep an eye on. I'm going to give everyone this name. I've said it once or twice on previous shows. Here's a name. Chicago Bears, Tyreek Stevenson. You're asking yourself why. He's kind of young. He was a 3rd-round pick. He's pretty good. The Bears hate his guts. Why do they hate his guts? Remember the play last year versus Washington? Jaden Daniels throws a Hail Mary at the end of the game. Who was the Bears player waving to the stands, not paying attention? Tyreek Stevenson. Tyreek Stevenson, also from Miami, Florida, also played for the U, and he is in their doghouse and hasn't been out since. Now, he's talented. So you might have to give up a 4th, which for him I probably would. But I want to talk to him first to make sure his head is screwed on a little straight. Because if his head's screwed on straight, is he really a number 1? No, but for 1 year, could he be our number 1? Yes, because once again, it's either him or Rasul Douglas. Take your pick. He'd be a name to see if you can pry him away from the Bears, because I know the Bears are just fed up with him. But the trade aspect is out there, and I wouldn't mind them seeing if they can do something via trade somehow, some way. Even with the Ramsey trade, if you get like a throw-in corner, like I'd be for that. Because what are we going to get back for Ramsey? A 5th? Like, you know what? The hell with the 5th. Hand us a 6th and toss in a corner that you really don't care too much. Like, do something like that. But yeah, I mean, maybe if they sign Rasul Douglas, I'll say this about Rasul: he don't miss games. He's pretty freaking healthy. He's bounced around the league a lot, but he is healthy. So if it's him, he'll be out there each week. But yeah, that's where I am. Corner, safety. Look, you're more worried about the secondary than they are, clearly, Doug. I don't know what's going on
They
here.
switched on us. They went from the offensive line to the secondary.
Yeah, but yeah, so all right, that's all for today's show. Everyone, thank you for listening. Now, here's the deal. When we started this, myself and Doug, we said we'll get you through the draft, but we're going to take it easy in the summer because Doug's got his own channel. He's doing a bunch of shows. I'm doing a bunch of shows here. And once we trade Ramsey, once we sign some corners, we'll probably pop on and have a show. But we might not be in every week because, look, folks, it's May. And at some point, you got to go outside and touch grass. And Doug's got a child. Let him spend time with the child after the draft. Let him hold his baby. Let him touch his child. You know, everyone's got a life here. So we will not go away forever. And once we get back to like training camp, we'll be back every week. But until then, it's going to be sporadic in between as we each have our own stuff to do. So there's that. Doug Lee Do Wrong. Again, YouTube sensation. Go on YouTube, search Doug Lee Do Wrong. There's about 5 shows that'll pop up on. Watch them all. And then for us, obviously, the website, DolphinsTalk.com, all social media at DolphinsTalk. And tonight, if you're watching this live on Thursday, Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphin show will be back. Stay tuned. They're going to be live in about an hour at 8:30 Eastern time. Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphin show. Everyone, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again after a while. Folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.